Do you want to become a permanent part of the channel? Check out the Alliteration Gaming Patreon. Here you'll find different tiers that all let you get involved in my videos, as well as provide you with a shout out, exclusive Discord access, and the ability to see my content early and ad free. Now if you're new here, you're gonna need an account on the UGN site. This will let you sign up for events, locate stores near you, and of course accrue those redemption points to use in the loyalty shop. You can even snag yourself 50 bonus points right now if you let me refer you. Until August 30th, when you're signing up, just click on Content Creator and type my channel name in the box. Regardless of how you do it though, thanks for being part of the Alliteration Nation. Now, let's get on to the video. Good evening, my dear viewers, and welcome to another Alliteration gaming video. My name is Levi, and today we're going to be doing another deck commission from my boy Woody. He has requested the Cursed Bean, the all-in mill deck you out Nighteye strategy. So Sir Nighteye is a character that is pretty generically strong. He gets to draw cards on block, you or your rival, and then of course his bottom enhance says that you get to fish the top 3 off of your rival's deck, remove any non-attacks, and then pump a speed for every 5 cards they have removed. So there's a lot of ways you can go with this guy. A lot of people see like, oh, I'm gonna go full mill. A lot of people just kind of play him mostly for this response here, and then the enhance is more of like a, you know, I'm just gonna kind of make sure that like you're losing your foundations, you're checking bad against me, and then once you actually do cycle and you get that like, you know, 10 to 15 cards in, my moves are gonna get crazy fast and I'm a really tough character to deal with. For the purpose of this commission, we're going to be going all in on the mill style. We are trying to remove our rival's entire deck, make them deck out, and win the game that way. And so I wasn't given a symbol stipulation for this one, even though you can really build Nighteye like this on all 3 of his symbols, to be honest with you. All gets Final Exam Gut Shot, which is a flash move that discards the top 8 cards of their deck. So you just discard them, not remove them, of course, but it's a flash move, so you don't actually get your Nighteye enhanced. So it's like a little give and take. The biggest thing Order gets is Searing Glacial Storm, which of course moves foundations down to 5 in both stages, which is really good. And I sat here and I thought, what does death do? And I kind of came up with some pretty interesting stuff going on. And so that's kind of, I thought it was a lot of cool plays I could do here, so that's the route that I went with this one. And so if we look at our attacks here, there's a pretty consistent theme. They almost all remove cards. So the big one here is Counter Sweep. This is Nightaye's 2-check. We are running a 2-check, and our foundations are pretty hardcore built for it, so it's not too bad. But this is a 2-check that carries its weight totally. It just says draw 2 cards. Draw 2 cards is amazing. We love drawing 2 cards. In the event that, you know, your rival leaves it open to it, they do have a powerful 3 here. But of course, the other big one on this is Enhanced Committed Foundation. Remove the top 2 of their discard pile. Straight up removing the cards is very, very good. That puts us a lot closer to our goal. Removing is always going to be way, way better than discarding. You're just speeding that process up so much. And this is kind of like the main workhorse of our attack lineup. Everything else just kind of like discards cards to some extent. We're playing Dual Needle Lunge, which has like the double weight of just being a generically really good card. But also we actually really like this ability in the momentum to discard the top 2 cards of our rival's deck. It just says flip any momentum, so there's like a world where you could justify running the other Toga attacks to keep this that go face up, just to keep this as like an engine, but I think you'd just be better off playing other attacks that actually like mill at least 2 to some extent, right? After that, Precision Steel Strike is our other Nighteye move, and this one just says you can make the rival reveal the top 3 and discard any. Most of the time you're just going to discard all 3, even if you could have left a bad check on top. You just want to discard all 3. We're here to mill them out non-stop. It's got a very nice block as well. You can change its zone if you've Nighteye responded, which is like fine, but we're not super worried about that. Dealing damage is not our priority here. Nighteye is interesting as a mill character because his enhance is only on your attack. So even if you play him as mill, you do actually want to attack the rival. It's just that your goal is not to deal damage, it's just to get your Nighteye enhance off, and of course your enhances that mill them from the attacks as well. Outside of our like direct mill attacks, I'm playing Vile Seizing and then a pair of double Palm Shatters. Vile Seizing is just a very generically good card, but also it does tell them to make a check, right? That is like essentially mill 1, so it's not too bad. This one really just pulls its weight as like a pseudo mill 1, but really it's a 1 high block with breaker 1 and a really powerful deadlock, which is where your rivals are gonna end up having to be sometimes if they can actually afford to like build out, you know, as long as they have like something that like destroys their foundations to keep them, you know, from decking out, keep them back in their discard pile. But this card's just very good all around. And then double Palm Shatter is neat because like it makes them make a check, but then also if they have to fail the check, they discard their hand and then draw. So if they have like 2 or 3 cards in hand, this one can actually end up being like a mill 3 or a mill 4, depending on how comfortable they are passing that check or not. So this one's kind of nice in here, but probably the most malleable move in this lineup. Lastly, 2 copies of Cat Pounce rounded up, because this just says turn any other attack in your hand into a counter sweep in your discard pile, and that's super duper good. These essentially just act as 2 more copies of counter sweep, and I really like that. Even if you don't have counter sweep, you can go grab something that does do some serious milling, and so it just kind of like extends your range there. It's like the most 3 mid for 5, which kind of stinks, but again, blocking, I mean, dealing damage is not our mission here. It's gonna get blocked, it's fine. It's kind of like a breaker block bait. It's like, oh, I'm gonna go pick up my counter sweep, I want to jam it on the 6th, then we get like breaker block. So maybe it's not that good, but I think even if you just save this for later, it's super duper okay. It's 19 attacks in like a 60 card deck. I'm sorry, a 64 card deck. So it's a little low because, again, we're not really about stringing here. Every attack we draw is pretty much just for the purpose of activating our Nighteye enhance and getting a little bit of mill off. Now, the foundations is where things get really interesting here, and really why I wanted to go with him on death. You know, the attacks here are like, obviously any symbol can play counter sweep. The rest of these are just kind of like, yeah, these do enough milling for me to be happy with, but the foundations is where I found some really cool things going on. And so we're going to start at the bottom here, because the one down here is actually our most important card. This is detailing the plan. This just says, Sir Nighteye, you can commit your character and discard the top 6 of your rival's deck. This is the most important card in our strategy. Discard the top 6 is the biggest number in the world. It's the biggest mill that we can find, other than like the gut shot discarding 8, right? And honestly, if we've already blocked, we're super fine committing our character defensively. So it's really good if they swing 2 times into us, we get to go block the first one, get my Nighteye response off. On your next one, I'll commit my character on your turn. You can mill 6, you know, have a good day, right? And so this is like the most important card in our foundation lineup. The second most important card here is 4 copies of Endenimed. Endenimed just says on your own attack, you can destroy a foundation to discard the top 2 of either player's deck, essentially putting an extra mill 2 on every single attack. Nighteye is already going to be milling 3 and possibly removing some, but between Nighteye and Endenimed, you can be milling 5 on every attack, and then, like, you know, you're either going to be milling 5, 6, with potentially more, 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, once it goes to momentum, 6, 7, and then this is only 5, but you do get to directly remove 2. So like it really extends the range of your moves here. And the only real crutch is that you have to be destroying your own foundations to do it, and that's where 4 copies of Happy-Go-Lucky come in. This is kind of our engine. The goal here is to get 2 Happy-Go-Luckies on board, and then just destroy 1 with Endenimed every turn, and then use the Happy-Go-Lucky, the other one, and then pick it back up, and then rebuild it. And so you're kind of getting a lot of free foundations to destroy for Endenimed this way. And once you actually find like more than 2 Happy-Go-Luckies, you can start getting like super like plussing, right? Like you can build all 3. You can, you know, use them to eventually build like all 3 or all 4, and then just keep destroying, picking them back up, destroying, picking them back up across your string. So I think it goes really well with Endenimed, and like these 2 together were kind of what made me really want to go like, okay, so I only get this on death. This is of course on all 3 symbols, but this is what you get on death, is this combo specifically with these 2 cards. And then the third most important piece in our foundation lineup here is 4 copies of Wild Pussycats. This just says dig in the top 3 cards of your deck for either detailing the plan or Endenimed, because you just want to get those 2 online super duper fast. So this card's really good for that. In the event that they have ways of like dealing with our detailing the plan or our Endenimed, they can like, you know, flip it, destroy it, remove it, whatever. This helps us replace it or find multiple copies of them. Even though you only really want to see like 1 of each of these, you do got to play 4 because they're the most important things to your game plan here. Even if you draw multiples, it's okay, because detailing the plan is a block draw card, which is super duper good. Speaking of protecting the foundations, For Struggling with Studies says that the scary flip symbols don't get to flip our Endenimed and our detailing the plan, and that's really sick. It's also just a great defensive ability. Our zeros are pretty self-explanatory. This one just gets -1 speed, which is good because we do need to survive a lot playing this deck. We're here to be very defensive, and that's kind of my only potential concern here, is Death Symbol's defense is not crazy daisy, which is where the 4 graceful maneuvers and 3 stalking our prey come in. We need to play a lot of speed reduction to make sure that we can survive inside of this deck. Another thing that we would get to do that's really cool on Death Nighteye Mill is we get to play 4 copies of Confession. This says every attack, they discard a card, draw a card. So you're going to be like messing up their scopes, but also, again, you're adding an extra mill 1 to every single attack. Once you get like the detailing the plan, the Endenimed, the Confession up, you're just going to be milling like 5, 6, 7 cards every single attack, and you're really going to be speeding through their deck. And so that's kind of like the main goal here. The rest of the foundations are kind of whatever. Foresight is just a fine 0. The real beauty of this card is the response after you play it. After that, it's just like the best endenimed fodder in the world. If you haven't found your happy-go-luckies yet, I got a house of cards in here just because, like, I don't know, it's just a little bit of momentum hate. I think it's a cool one of. Past that, we're playing 2 Trey Chic Cape, because I really want to reuse Wild Pussycats. Being able to flip this, dig in the top 3 for something good, and then being able to use the cape to unflip it is really fantastic. Stalking Your Prey is also another really good flip target, as is Struggling with Studies. So I really like a pair of capes in here. It's actually something that like I want to see. Then we're just playing a heavy amount in 3 Showdown because we're a super defensive deck. We're usually going to be holding resources defensively all the time, and so I think this is just super good. In tandem with Nighteye, we get to block, replace our block, commit 2 of their best things, and then seal their 3rd best thing, and that's really dope. The fact that Nighteye is seal stuff in the card pool as well is really good. It's funny, I was talking about like Cat Pounce getting breaker blocked and messing up like going into the counter sweep, but that actually doesn't happen if we don't want it to, right? Because Nighteye gets to seal their block and then they can't breaker us. So really cool stuff going on here, and that's kind of like the core of the deck, right? As you can see, basically every attack mills them somehow or removes cards in the case of counter sweep, and Cat Pounce goes and grab attacks that do mill cards, and then every foundation is either just keep you alive with speed reduction or mill them more or protect your things that that maintain your milling, which is really sick. And that's kind of the engine. I have a lot of things you can consider in the sideboard here. There's a world where, like, rather than the Palm Shatter and the Cat Pounces, you can play some like defensive tech attacks, like Instant Shining Flash for the on-block momentum hate. You can play Pride for the momentum hate, although it's probably more of a sideboard thing if you want to go that hard on it. Naval Laser Beam is Breaker 2 on a stick, and Uppercut is a really powerful defensive response. Because we're trying to survive so much with this deck to mill them out, these 2 might be more important, even though they don't directly mill the rival. We can just kind of hold them in hand, almost like actions that do this thing, but I think that the Showdowns kind of fulfill that value enough, but more might be the better call. I also think as a slow defensive deck, League of Villains would be amazing in this deck, but I'd be a little wary of running my 4 diff asset in a deck with 4 2-checks. As you can see, we only have 4, 7, 11, 15 non-spams, and then 25 spams in our 40 foundation, so we're built pretty hard to play around the 2-check here. In a similar vein, League Invitation would be awesome as a defensive piece that also makes them mill 1, right? They have to make a check. But again, it's a 3 diff. If you want to go a little crazier with it, you totally could. I think you can maybe mess with like the Stalking Her Prey slot or the Graceful slot. Maybe take out the House of Cards one of, you can like mess a little bit here. You could go below 8 zeros, but I really don't like going below 8 zeros, to be honest with you. Another thing that all in Death Knight I get as far as like milling goes is food, because it removes their non-attack block. I think that's really sick. I just like can't find a slot in this foundation lineup that I think food would be better in. It's really, I mean, it's a direct remove. It's only 1, but it is a direct remove, and it's a heal. Perhaps that could be better than one of the speed reduction slots here, but I think playing a hefty amount of speed reduction is pretty important. Segueing into that, we have 4 Graceful and 3 Stalking, but if you wanted to go with any amount of like In Control, Mastermind's Apprentice, or Shock Absorption for more spam, I think you totally could. I really just didn't want like 4 checks in the deck as well, so that's why I think this card's kind of ugly. Mastermind is okay, but I feel like I'm going to be blowing up a lot of my board with Endenimed, and if Mastermind destroyed rather than removed, I would go all day, because then we could spam Happy-Go-Lucky Recursion even more, but it removes them, so it doesn't actually work with that, so not very big fan of that. There's a world where you could also say Screw Blocking and cut out some of the speed reduction for some healing. You could even do Super Regeneration and food for a lot of healing, but I think just hard blocking is better, because like our character's got a really sick on block response. I don't want to tank hits and heal. I'd rather just block them and then get my draw and my seal. So I think speed reduction is a little more important than like a healing engine there. Sideboard cards go, we already talked about Exploding Pride. I would side League of Villains too for those really good matchups. Learning the Standards, great sideboard tech for any decks trying to like long string against you. And Arrogant is really good because the punch decks are absolutely everywhere. Honestly, in every Arrogant symbol, I've just been like main decking 4 of these anyway, because like whatever, it's a 6 check and it hates punches, and everyone's playing punches right now. But I think it'd be a little tough to squeeze into this list here. And that's it, guys. That's our 64 card list. Our block zones are quite balanced, all things considered. Your block zones being balanced is important, because Nighteye needs you to full block an attack to get its response off. So it's actually quite relevant to have them covered. But I think, I don't know if this is the best mill list. I think that all might pull ahead just because Final Exam Gut Shot is so strong, and all does get some cool other tactics, but I really kind of fell in love with this, like, Endenimed is really good, and then Pussycats lets us search for detailing and Endenimed, which means that, like, we just get our mill game plan on really fast and really consistently, and I think the attacks are, like, just stable enough and just milly enough to help us survive there as well, and just kind of recur a lot of resources. I've been putting happy-go-lucky engines in a lot of decks, so that's kind of one of the main things that really brought me here, but I think this is a really sick little list, and I think if you sleeve this up and take it to locals, you are definitely going to deck out some people, and they're going to have a very bad time against you. Woody told me that he wanted as little attacks in this possible, only ones that mill, and he wanted to be as annoying as possible, and I think that is exactly what you're going to find by the end of this. Thanks for making it into this video, though, guys. I greatly, genuinely appreciate it, and if you want your own little commission like this, you can check out my Patreon. All that stuff's linked down below, but if all you did was just watch this one, man, I appreciate that all the same. It's all the time I've got for today, but I hope I can see you in the next one.